This presentation is about online game-based learning in 8th grade family and consumer sciences. The topics covered in this presentation include background, research questions, methodology, analyzing data and reporting findings, and discussing the conclusion and recommendation. The background of this research study was traditional instruction of financial literacy proves to be uninteresting for students of all grade levels. Traditionally, financial literacy is taught by bankers making classroom visits to instruct on various financial topics. As technology usage increases, these practices are not as effective for students. Students struggle with these traditional methods because they are not engaged in the content and thus not motivated to increase their personal financial knowledge. Bankers and educators have been trying to improve the motivation of students in middle school and high school financial literacy programs by implementing game-based financial education. Research has shown that students who are not motivated and engaged in the content focused on will not develop high achievement in the content. The research questions for this study examine the impact of financial literacy game-based learning through Bonsai Financial Literacy at teachbonsai.com on 8th grade students' achievement and motivation. The two research questions that were focused on include: what are the effects of using Bonsai Financial Literacy on student learning motivation? And what are the effects of using Bonsai Financial Literacy on students' budgeting skills? This action research study was conducted as a mixed methods approach. Action research is defined as teachers studying their practice and/or their students' learning in a methodical way in order to inform classroom practice. The purpose of action research is for educators to reflect on their teaching and classroom experiences to enhance learning. Students play the game in the classroom in addition to daily financial literacy content. The timeline for this research started by using Bonsai Financial Literacy, taking the pre-test that was online, and a pre-survey to gain students' attitudes toward budgeting. Then throughout the multiple week study, I conducted observations, interviews, and a quiz at the midway point, and ended with a post-test and a post-survey. The conceptual framework created at the beginning of the research study described the content, traditional and alternative teaching approach, and purpose of the study. The content is an 8th grade family and consumer sciences learning. Many students and adults alike struggle to understand the foundational knowledge of money management today. Lack of foundational knowledge in financial literacy can create negative consequences due to poor financial choices. The outcome of students entering adulthood with the knowledge passed from parents shows the same struggle with foundational knowledge of money management. To curb this, financial education should be focused on in-school curriculums. The traditional approach to financial education is taught by using a combination of lecture, practice, and demonstrations. Students are typically not engaged in this method, and financial education is viewed as boring. Traditionally, financial literacy is taught by bankers making classroom visits to instruct on various financial topics. The alternative approach would be to play Bonsai Financial Literacy online game as a supplement to their regular financial education instruction. This game will provide a tool for engagement, motivation, immediate feedback, support, and practice for students. Students will be able to practice their financial literacy skills in an online interactive game. The purpose is for increased achievement and motivation in 8th grade family and consumer sciences learning. In-person classroom visits are beneficial in instructing vocabulary and basic understanding of certain financial concepts. The online game allows students to receive immediate feedback, which is shown to be positive in error correction when a mistake is made, and can allow students to change their behavior and reflect on the decision they made. Collaboration between students is also a way to increase motivation. Understanding the research participants and the research site. The subjects of this study were 40 8th grade students in a family and consumer sciences classroom in a rural school setting. The school makeup was mostly white, lower middle class to impoverished students in a very rural, small setting. The students used their devices, which are provided by the district and are Chromebooks. The district was a small area in Delaware County, New York. The middle school is connected by a hallway to the high school, but there is a separate elementary school. Students in the middle school do not operate on a block schedule and instead transition classes 9 periods a day, with each period being 40 minutes long. My classroom is a home economics classroom, but it does have seating outside of the kitchens for 19 students. You might be wondering, how did I collect data throughout this research study? Once students were familiar with the media and infrastructure of the site, they then took the Bonsai Financial Literacy pre-test and pre-survey. I randomly selected 4 students for interviews and observation at this time. They were my focus group for this action research. Students then spent a couple class periods working through the game. I was able to observe what different pathways students in general take versus my students with the lower pretest scores in my focus group. I was able to compare this research and note my findings. Students took a quiz halfway through the study. Students then took the post-test and post-survey after they completed the game.
The Bonsai simulation is offered through Sydney Federal Credit Union, but is a national-based online game simulation that teaches students many aspects of financial literacy. The game itself offers many choices that students must navigate through various life scenarios. The simulation shows which path students took in a type of game of life style that forces students through different scenarios based on the choices they have made.
I love teaching. I love it. I love it. I love it. And my favorite unit is financial literacy, especially now that I found Bonsai. When I teach, I like to get the kids engaged, not just paying attention, but really participating, which can be tricky with teenagers. But that's exactly what the Bonsai program does. I mean, students tackle real-world financial situations. Oh, now I've got to pay for my cell phone, and what's rent gonna cost me? And can't I just put this all on my credit card? You know, serious stuff. But it's fun. And with both online and printed materials, my kids learn how to track and manage their money, make trade-offs, practice discipline, and make sound financial decisions. I love
analyzing data and reporting findings. Coding. The code words are from students' responses to survey questions, observation field notes, and interview questions. 2 code words identified were easy and money. Many students stated that Bonsai Financial Literacy was easy to navigate, easy to understand, and the information presented on financial literacy was easy to follow. Money was a common theme throughout the research. Some examples are how to spend money and budgeting your money is harder than I thought. Observation. Did the students have constructive discussions? Was one of the questions I asked in my observations of students. Students were discussing aspects of the game, such as how much money things cost and what they were spending their money on. So this is a constructive observation of students playing Bonsai. Interview. An interview question I asked was, how will what you've learned impact your financial decisions in the future? An answer I got for this question was, I'll know how to spend my money and save correctly. The findings of the quantitative data exemplify the motivation and achievement differences in students' financial literacy ability and interest from the beginning of the study to the end. The data shows an increase in motivation due to the comments of students during the interviews, surveys, and observations, as well as an increase in achievement from the scores of the pre-test, quiz, and post-test. The 2 research questions focused on students' motivation and achievement when Bonsai Financial Literacy was implemented as supplemental instruction in my Family and Consumer Sciences Financial Literacy unit. The findings from this data method showed a positive correlation between Bonsai Financial Literacy and students' motivation and achievement. Discussing and interpreting findings. Motivation. Students' motivation in relation to financial literacy was very low before conducting this research. The participants in this study show increased motivation due to the survey responses, interviews, and observations conducted. Students are more interested in learning financial literacy when paired with an online game. Studies show increased motivation in students that completed successfully integrated technology tools for teaching and learning. Achievement. Students' achievement in financial education in my classroom was positive. Many students' scores on the quiz and post-test were higher than the pre-test, which shows increased knowledge and understanding of the topic. The participants have shown that implementing Bonsai financial literacy when learning financial education does increase achievement. Research has shown that students who are engaged in the content focused on will develop high achievement in the content. To increase students' achievement in financial education, the online game provides opportunities for complex thinking. Complex learning increases student achievement in the content. Lessons I learned from my pilot study. Through the results of this study, I learned that my students enjoy using technology-based instructional methods when learning financial education. I also learned that my students are very personable and like to talk through challenges and topics the game provided. If I were to complete this study again, I would add another quiz to determine what methods of the online game-based instruction are most effective. I would also focus on only one section of my 8th grade classes instead of two. Multiple sections can allow for external factors to influence the data collection, such as comments made in one class that were not made in the other, that help or hinder students' motivation or achievement. Limitations. I will implement this online game into my financial education topic for 8th grade students each year. I will also implement other technology-based interactive resources in order to see if they also increase motivation and achievement in students' learning of other topics such as sewing, food and nutrition, and family life. The areas of concern I have with this technology integration is the pace in which students complete the activities and the technology usage itself. Due to the online game being accessible from any location at any time, students may complete it outside of class and be ahead of their peers. This is negative because they are missing any assistance I can provide during class, as well as other instructional methods provided to enhance the online game's content. With any technology usage, there is always a risk that students cannot complete the activities due to not having the correct technology. Recommendations for classroom teachers and future study. I recommend this study for classroom teachers. Bonsai Financial Literacy provided a non-traditional instructional method to teach financial literacy to my 8th grade students. Some possible extensions of this project include the utilization of the library. Findings indicate that students enjoy sharing with others, and working in teams or groups and utilizing the library and its many articles allows students to work together and gain knowledge on topics that the online game does not cover. Each finding can be further researched in the future by comparing results of one class to another and comparing a focus group class to a class that utilized Bonsai Financial Literacy as the main instructional method. Thank you for listening to my presentation on Bonsai Financial Literacy and its effect on students' motivation and achievement in my Family and Consumer Sciences classroom.